Did this emotional moment truly happen behind the cameras, or is it one of the biggest secrets the industry tried to bury? What Dylan Wang said when he finally apologized to Shen Yue after Miles Wei confronted him will leave you breathless. And before we dive into the full story with every shocking detail, make sure you hit the subscribe button right now so you never miss another dramatic moment like this, because what you are about to hear will shake you to your core. The air inside the backstage hallway still felt heavy, almost suffocating, as if the walls themselves were trying to hold on to the tension left behind by the confrontation. Crew members whispered among themselves, replaying the moment Miles Wei stepped forward and told Dylan Wang to stay away from Shen Yue. No one had ever seen anything like it. Not between actors of their status. Not with emotions running that deep. But the real storm had not even begun. Because when the camera stopped rolling and the staff finally cleared out, Dylan Wang disappeared. No one knew where he went. Not Miles. Not Shen Yue. Not even his own manager. It was as if he had vanished into the cracks of the building. Shen Yue kept searching the hallway with anxious eyes. Her heart was pounding with guilt and confusion. She replayed every word Miles said and every look Dylan gave her. She felt torn down the middle, pulled in directions she did not want to choose between. Miles stayed near her, trying to keep her calm, but even he knew she needed to talk to Dylan. She needed closure. She needed answers. But Dylan was nowhere. Hours passed. The award show ended. The lights dimmed. And still the silence lingered. Shen Yue finally stepped outside into the cool night air, hugging her arms tightly around herself. Her breath trembled. She felt the weight of everything pressing down on her. The confrontation. The confession. The secrets she had been carrying for months. The unspoken words she was too afraid to give voice to. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Hesitant. She turned. Dylan stood a few feet away, his expression unreadable, his posture tense, his eyes tired in a way that made her heart twist painfully. He did not speak at first. He just looked at her, as if trying to gather the strength to say something he had been swallowing for far too long. Shen Yue took a step toward him. "Dylan, where did you go?" He exhaled shakily. "Away. I just needed space. Needed to think. Needed to breathe." His voice sounded softer than she had ever heard it. She hesitated. "Dylan, about what you heard earlier, I did not mean for things to get this complicated." Dylan let out a small bitter laugh. "Complicated. That is one word for it." She opened her mouth to say more, but he lifted a hand gently, stopping her. "Let me say something first," he said quietly. "Please." Her heart dropped. The tone in his voice felt different. Heavy. Final. As if he was carrying a truth he was afraid to release but could no longer keep inside. Dylan took another step toward her until he was standing right in front of her. Close enough that she could feel the warmth of his breath. Close enough that she could see the pain in his eyes even under the dim lights outside the venue. "I owe you an apology," he finally said. Shen Yue blinked in surprise. "What are you apologizing for?" "For everything," Dylan whispered. "For the pressure. For the misunderstandings. For the arguments that never should have happened. For not listening when you were hurting. For expecting you to choose when you were already overwhelmed. For making you carry the weight of my feelings without asking if you were ready. For acting like I knew everything you needed when I clearly didn't." His voice cracked slightly, and he looked away, swallowing hard. "I am sorry, Yue. Truly." Shen Yue felt her throat tighten. The vulnerability in his voice broke through every wall she had built. She had never seen him like this. Not this raw. Not this open. Not this willing to take responsibility for the pain between them. Dylan continued, eyes fixed on the ground as if he could not bring himself to look at her again. "When Miles confronted me, it made me realize something. He sees things I was too stubborn to face. He sees how tired you are. He sees how much you have been trying to hold everything together. And I hate that he noticed it before I did. I hate that he was the one who stood up for you when I should have been the first to protect you. Shen Yue felt tears rising. Dylan. Please do not think that. But he shook his head. I deserved that confrontation. I deserved someone telling me to stop before I pushed you too far without even realizing it. Shen Yue stepped closer this time until she was the one closing the gap between them. Dylan finally lifted his eyes to hers. His gaze was full of guilt. Pain. Regret. She reached out and rested a gentle hand on his arm. You were never the only one at fault. I kept pretending I was fine. I kept holding everything in. I kept trying to protect everyone but myself. I never told you how overwhelmed I was. How scared I was of hurting either of you. I should have said more. I should have been honest. Dylan swallowed. You tried. I just did not listen. Silence settled between them. Not the heavy kind from earlier. A softer one. A fragile one. A silence that felt like two hearts finally meeting halfway after drifting apart for too long. Then Dylan inhaled deeply. There is one more thing I need to say. Shen Yue nodded. Go on. Dylan hesitated before speaking. I need you to know that I never wanted to lose you. Not as a friend. Not as someone important. Not as someone who changed my life more than you realize. But if being close to me is hurting you, then I will step back. Not because I want to. But because you deserve peace. You deserve clarity. You deserve someone who listens to you without making you carry the weight of their emotions. Shen Yue felt her chest tighten painfully. Dylan. Do not do that to yourself. But he smiled a sad, small smile. It is not about punishing myself. It is about finally understanding that caring about someone also means knowing when to let them breathe. Before she could answer, footsteps echoed again. Miles Wei stepped out from the side of the building, his expression tight with worry. He froze when he saw the two of them standing so close. His eyes flickered between their faces, reading the tension instantly. Shen Yue wiped her eyes. Miles, it is all right. We are just talking. Miles nodded slowly. I am glad. I was hoping he would talk to you. Dylan turned toward him, and for a long moment, the two men stared at each other in silence. There was no anger this time. No sharp edges. Just exhaustion. Acceptance. And a quiet understanding of everything that had happened. Finally Dylan spoke. Thank you. For stepping in earlier. I did not want to hear it. But I needed to. Miles seemed slightly taken aback, but he nodded respectfully. I just wanted to protect her. Someone had to. Dylan looked at Shen Yue again. And I realize now that should have been me all along. Shen Yue felt the atmosphere shift. Not with hostility. But with something softer. Something calmer. Miles approached slowly. You do not have to decide anything now. You do not have to pick sides. You do not have to explain anything. Just breathe. That is all you need to do tonight. Dylan nodded in agreement. We will figure everything out later. Together. Without pressure. Shen Yue closed her eyes, overwhelmed by the waves of emotion crashing inside her. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen. Heard. Understood. She opened her eyes and whispered, I just want peace between us. I do not want to lose either of you. Dylan stepped back slightly, giving her space, his gaze gentle. You will not lose me, you. Not ever. Miles added softly. And I am not going anywhere either. The night air wrapped around them. The tension melted into something quieter. Something fragile but real. Something that felt like the beginning of healing. And as the three of them stood together beneath the dim lights of the empty venue, one thing became clear. This was not the end of their story. It was only the beginning of a truth finally unfolding. The night did not end the way any of them expected. Even after the apology, even after the raw honesty that passed between them, something still lingered in the air, a quiet ache that refused to fade. Shen Yue walked a few steps away from the entrance, trying to gather herself. Dylan watched her with careful eyes, almost afraid to speak again, almost afraid that one more word might break the fragile calm they had managed to rebuild. Miles stood a few feet behind them, arms folded, but the sternness from earlier was gone. His expression had softened. He was no longer a shield or a warning. He was simply someone who cared too deeply, someone who wanted her to stop drowning in emotions she had been hiding for too long. Shen Yue finally turned to both of them. Her voice trembled softly. I do not want tonight to be the reason everything falls apart. I want to fix this. I want all of us to breathe again. Dylan stepped closer, his voice low and sincere. Then tell us what you need. Not tomorrow. Not when things settle. Right now. Tell us how to make this easier for you. Shen Yue lowered her gaze. I need honesty. I need peace. And I need both of you to stop fighting over me like I am something to win. I am tired. I am overwhelmed. I need space to understand what my heart is trying to tell me. Miles exchanged a glance with Dylan, and for the first time that night, there was no fire between them. No challenge. No rivalry. Only reluctant acceptance. Miles nodded first. If space is what you need, I will give it to you. Just promise me one thing. Do not disappear from us completely. Dylan added quietly. And do not carry everything alone anymore. You do not have to protect us. Let us protect you too. Her breath caught as their words settled deep inside her. She felt the weight on her chest lift, if only slightly. The three of them stood in silence, letting the night wind move around them, letting the rawness of the moment take its place. No shouting. No secrets. Just truth, finally spoken without fear. Then Shen Yue whispered, "Thank you. Both of you." Miles placed a hand gently on her shoulder. You are not alone, you. You never were. Dylan watched her with a softness that had replaced all the anger from earlier. Whatever happens next, I will respect your choice. I will not force you anymore. Shen Yue looked at him, and something unspoken passed between them. Not closure. Not an ending. Just a fragile step toward healing, one that both of them desperately needed. Miles finally broke the silence with a small smile. Maybe we should all head home. It has been a long night. Shen Yue nodded. Dylan nodded. But as they walked out together, something felt different. Not resolved. Not perfect. But hopeful. As if the apology was only the beginning of a much bigger story waiting to unfold, one that none of them could fully predict. Because sometimes the most powerful moments do not happen in the confrontation, but in what happens after, the quiet steps toward forgiveness, the soft truth of letting go, and the courage to begin again even when everything feels uncertain. And this night, heavy and painful as it was, had opened a door none of them were ready to close.